I just want to thank you all for coming out for brunch this morning. It's just so nice to be able to sit around the table and have positive dialogue with girlfriends who are doing things in the community. So talk a little bit about your business, real estate. I know there were ups and downs in the market. So how long have you been in real estate? What's been your experience?
Well, I am a very new real estate agent. I am just hit my 1-year anniversary probably 2 weeks ago.
Congratulations.
And I just honestly took a leap of faith. Real estate was something that I've always wanted to do. I've always been in sales and management, and you know, I'm not new to business, but real estate was a little new for me. And I did what I don't recommend many people do. I quit my job and I really jumped out without a solid plan. You know, I just knew, you know how you have that, that thing that won't die. I knew that that's what I was supposed to do. And I did it, and I've been blessed beyond measure. I really have been. It's been very good to me in my life, my quality of life, my finances, the people that I've been able to help. It's just been a true blessing. And I'm still learning so much.
Are you having an event at Ruth Chris?
I am.
Girl, that is just some great marketing. Okay, let me tell you, because you have a sponsored ad. It was on Instagram, because I just met you. I don't even think we follow one another, but I was like, a sponsored ad came up about she's doing a private event at Ruth Chris. You have to, you know, be interested in wanting to get pre-approved before you
start that
commit.
journey.
But I thought that was just
That is nice.
it's a really great idea, because you feel like exclusive. It's Ruth Chris, so they have nice food, and you can, you know, charm them, be like, girl, you know, you need to work with me.
So who's the target?
Home buyers.
Home buyers, okay.
Home buyers. So I have been, people don't realize, like, selling houses, yes, like that's the main part of your job, you're selling homes, but the bigger part of it, the back end, it's a really sales kind of job. You have to be able to lead generate without making people feel like you're a number, you know, because they're not numbers, they're people, but it is a sales environment. So I've basically used all of the years that I've went through so many jobs, and I've always never really loved anything, but been pretty good at some things, and I see, you know, I thank God all the time, it's all, I get it now. So like all the things that I've learned and all those jobs that I may have hated or just kind of got through, I've been able to take those things and use them to grow my business and think outside of the box to lead generate and gain clients, and just it's just been amazing, and that it is working. That
I mean, I'm not even looking for a house, but I was like, I need it.
I might want to buy a house.
Like, no joke, I loved it.
well, thank you.
That is excellent. You know, you said some key things, like you were at several jobs. You didn't necessarily want to be in several jobs, but you took away things from those jobs that allowed you to be successful where you are at 1 year in the game with such innovation, because that's like a unique approach. I've been in the market. I've bought several houses, and no one's ever invited me to Ruth Chris to talk about it. So that's not common in the real estate?
No, what I found honestly is one thing, it's just not common for people to get nice things done for them. So you don't really have to do much, because for me, I take out, you know, if you're buying a house with me, I'm going to take you to lunch anyway, so we can sit down, and so why not just compile it all together? You know, that's my budget anyway. I know that I'm going to spend money on, you know, people are always so shocked and they feel like it's such a big deal, but I don't. And I think that's why I'm doing so well, because people are just so not used to being treated well. Just treat people well, and then it just comes back.
So 2 things that come to mind that resonate with me as an employer. We have over 100 individuals that we employ, and people aren't going to be, you know, in the company forever. That's not an expectation that you're in the company forever. But what I try to instill is an entrepreneurial mindset, and give an understanding to grow where you're planted. Completely just immerse yourself. If you're there, get into it, because really the investment that you're making is an investment in yourself. And yes, the company will benefit, but it's when you when you understand your mission and the company's mission, and that intersection of those two is where success really is. So the fact that you learn the sales techniques and all of those, it's going to pay off exponentially for you because you were in it while you were there. You grew where you were planning, and now you're moving on. Good for you. Love it.
Thank you.
The second thing I heard at the end was you taking your buyers out for dinner. You treating them well. And that's about building relationships. And I think people really underestimate you can't do anything in this world alone. And anybody who's thinking that you can do it by yourself, you sadly,
already.
And so the beauty of, I'm going to go to Tasha for a moment because I was introduced to Tasha through someone else I contacted for a personal trainer. And she was firm because, I have an interesting life. So I'm like, I need some flexibility. And so she was very like, this is how I do it. I'm like, okay, well, that's probably not going to work for me. So she gave me Tasha's information. This was probably 4 years ago. And so Tasha, while her main line of business is personal training, I've gone to several personal trainers. Tasha is really she has such a gift of relationships. Really a gift. I don't know if I deal with lots of folks in this field in federal government contracting. I mean, people who have huge companies. And what they're missing is the ability to connect with people, no matter who they are. I go to her what is it called? Studio. Thank you. Her studio. And personal training, you're thinking, okay, I'm going to come, it's going to just be me and you, I'm going to have your undivided attention. And it was a little different because she does her personal training and it's a group of people. It may be 3 other people there. And I'm going to tell you the truth, Tasha. I don't know if I ever told you. That was a little like, I thought it's just going to be me and you. But I decided to just lean into whatever's been working. So I just said, you know what, Angela, you're not the owner of this business. Just lean into it. So I moved forward, and all of a sudden, I realized that these 2 people over here were motivating me as much as she was motivating me, and I was meeting people. What I also noticed is everybody was kind of at a different place in their weight loss journey. Everyone was in a different place in their career, and it didn't matter. All of us were there for one reason. We were trying to be healthy. And so being able to connect like that, and she connects the people. So she's building relationships and having other people build relationships. So now it's like a tribe around you. Everybody is trying to encourage you, and when you've done, well, you walk in and they're like, "Oh, you look good, girl." So that's an extra perk that I wasn't even expecting. But I've watched Tasha through the years have a unique connection with each individual person. And so relationships, so 4 years later, monthly payments, I don't miss a payment because I value her time and I value her heart. I see her putting her heart in her business. And so I think relationships really, that's the connection, between everyone. So tell me about your world.
Hey y'all. So again, I'm Neisha, and I am the founder of Grow Foundation, and GROW is an acronym for Girls Recognizing Our Worth. It's a 501c3 nonprofit organization registered here in Virginia, as well as my native state of New Jersey, and we assist victims and survivors of domestic violence with rebuilding their lives after abuse. We do community outreach, prevention initiatives, and all that good stuff needed just to fight domestic violence. I am a survivor of domestic violence. I've been out 6 years now. I'm happily married to an amazing man. He's dope. You dope. You looking at the camera? You dope. You dope. But and I started telling my story like 4 years ago. I do spoken word, so the first time I told it was like on a stage, and I remember like hyperventilating. I couldn't even get through it and just running off. And what started as me wanting to I needed to get that off me. I was angry, I was hurt, I was bitter. It was just a whirlwind of emotions, was helping other people. So what happened was people started coming up to me, my daughter's going through this, my sister's going through this, I'm going through this. And then people started asking me to speak, and I think it was a different way to bring awareness via spoken word. So I would speak at a shelter or a school or a conference or something and just come out spitting. That's spoken word talk. Performing. So I would just come out like, blah, 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 and then say, hi guys, by the way, did you know 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men? And, you know, grab their attention that way. So I worked in real estate for like 15 years as I've done like paralegal, I've been in the foreclosure side, the bankruptcy side, the loan modifications, doing closings, underwriter, all that good stuff. And I was burned out from real estate, but I also knew it wasn't my passion. My passion was supposed to help. And just to take it back, I've always been a writer. I've always loved writing poetry and just stories. And before I started my organization, I found like an old journal that I had in the box, and I was like 15 years old. So I'm in Jersey at the time, and I said, when I grow up, like my life plans was I was gonna move to Virginia. I was gonna move to Norfolk, Virginia and work with abused women and kids. Like that's what I said when I was 15, 16 years old. And by day, I'm a domestic violence victim advocate for the Norfolk Commonwealth Attorney's Office. So I see DV 9 to 5, but 24/7 really, because I see it during the day, and then I'm still trying to operate my business. You know, I'm in court getting messages about my business, and then getting off work and dealing with domestic violence there. So sometimes it can be a lot emotionally and mentally. That's what I was saying with the whole war with yourself, but I realized it's pain to purpose. Like I used to ask God, why me, why me, why me? And now I realize that I was supposed to go through that so that I could be where I am today. I wouldn't be sitting here right now if I didn't go through it.
That's
so.
right. So can you spit something for us?
I can. Yeah. If you serious, no. I mean, you serious? Yeah. Like an excerpt or?
Sure, whatever.
Okay. All right. Just gonna put me on the spot. Okay. All right. So, geez. All right. So this is a piece. It's an excerpt from a piece entitled "Love Letter," and it's actually a piece that I wrote, kind of like an open letter to my ex.
Ooh.
So. Oh, Angela. Okay. I feel like I need a mic. I need space. Okay. All right. This is a love note dedicated to every word that was supposed to tear me down. Syllable by syllable, letter by letter. 26 reasons to leave, but only needed 2 to stay. You and I. This is for every adjective that couldn't describe words of pain, and every noun I tried to remember when you forgot you said you'd change. All I knew was I didn't feel like a person. I hated this place, but I was too afraid to get my things. This is for all of y'all love yous when I didn't love myself, and every empty I'm sorry when I didn't value my wealth. I am priceless, and well, you are sorry. I give this to every gasp of air that you ever stole from me, deflating my lungs like the heart-shaped balloons that you gave me in February. But this was June, and yet you were still cold. Your hateful words morphed into verbs and the violence. Oh, the violence always had a comma after it. It seemed no matter the time of month with you, my period was always late. I give this to every broken bone that ever healed before my heart did. For every black and blue bruise that painted my body like canvases kin to my ancestors. Whipping my so-called disrespect into shape. You beat me, and you beat me, and you beat me. Or so you think you did. But I stand here tall, today and forever, backbone as straight as the line you crossed all those years ago, head held high, wearing a crown made of 24-karat confidence, no longer slave to the notion that I will die a victim, but rather live a victor. I am a survivor. I am a survivor that did more than survive. I became alive. I became a fighter. I became a fighter armed with the love of self, my family, and a voice for the voiceless. A shoulder to catch the tears of the worthy who feel worthless. A soulmate and a God who proved my pain had a purpose. I am a survivor. I have been kicked. I have been hit. I have been broken. But I have never, ever been beaten. Thank you. Y'all can clap for me. I like clapping. Thank you.
Gosh, that is beautiful.
Thank you.
You're gifted.
Oh, girl,
That's all. That was just in there.
You were sitting also meek and
No, I know. She's like, y'all really want me to see
My poet name is Beautiful Disaster, so I'll be up there like, hi guys, and then I'll go, and I'll be like, all right, thanks for your time.
So Stephanie, you have some exciting things going on.
Yeah, I feel like I do a million things. But, by day, I am the program manager for a nonprofit called From One Hand to Another. We run summer camps across the country for kids. But then also, my husband and I own the Reddix Group, which is a media company. We actually started it when we were just dating, and I was like, Lord, please let this work, because that doesn't work out. How are we gonna do this? But we started a media company because we both didn't see ourselves portrayed in the media, how we wanted us to look in the media.
Right.
So we were like, you know what, let's just start our own company. Let's create our own content and let's just do it. So I created a TV show called Montage, and it was about like beauty, fashion, fitness, inspiration, things to just get you like positive, because you don't see a lot of positive things on TV. And I was able to get that into different markets across the country, like with no backing, no money, no anything. So that was like, okay, God, I see you. Like, this is cool. And I was so adamant about doing that because you don't see a lot of Black women like producing, shooting, editing, doing all their own stuff, and like without fighting on TV, without looking a fool on TV. And so now I actually do lifestyle segments on local NBC affiliate here, in Richmond as well. And I just like to, I've always had a passion for telling people stories. I love like connecting with people and talking to people and just getting people's stories. I love to hear where people have come from. So I always want to like translate that on camera to like a positive experience. I'm all about like positivity, sharing people's experiences, because you just never know like where people come from. You have like a misconception of people. So yeah, here we are 4 years later, and yeah, it's been a journey. It's definitely been a journey. My husband left his job 3 months before we got married to run our company full time. So both of our parents were like, my dad was like, so y'all good? I was like, we're gonna wing in prayer. And so it's definitely been an up and down journey, but it's so worth it. And I'm kind of like in this crossroads now, because literally, I think it was April, I was planning to launch like my own website and do like my own branding and everything. Then I found out I was pregnant. So I was just like, oh my God, like where does that leave me? What do I do now? So now I'm kind of in this journey of like figuring out who I am in this process, like about to become a mother for the first time, but I'm also still in media, and how does that work? So I'm kind of like a work in progress right now with that. So that's like my little story right now.
Beautiful. I didn't know all of that.
Yeah.
So wondering, what are your thoughts on Love Is? Do you watch that?
I have not seen it.
You haven't?
I know, and everybody keeps telling me about it. I know. I have to like catch up on all my shows. I just fall asleep so early nowadays. But yes, no, I've heard amazing things about it. I'm a big fan of Mara, so yeah.
And some of that, it just seems, do people tell you?
Yeah,
the stories?
yeah.
I'm like, when you were
they're like, oh my God, people text me like, you've got to watch it. It reminds me of you and
It's
Joe.
the sweetest thing. It's sweet. Have you all seen it?
Oh yeah.
I've heard it's like amazing.
It's
Absolutely. So I know you said you don't watch TV, but
I do. I watch TV. I have not caught up on that show.
Okay, so what sitcom or special do you think portrays African American families in a positive light?
That's really hard. I love, if you guys seen Blackish.
Yes.
I really like that show because I feel like I can relate to that show because that's how I grew up in that demographic. But I also feel like it doesn't portray all Black families. Like you have that upper middle class Black family, and they're just trying to, survive and do all this stuff kind of like in a white world. I genuinely don't think there is one show that portrays something for all Black people. I mean, granted, you're not going to get one thing for everybody, but I don't think there is a show that's just for every Black person without it being crazy. I mean, you have your reality shows and you have your stuff like I love Greenleaf. I love that show. But I mean, that's like one subset of Black people. Like, I don't think there's enough content on TV for Black people, even with the stuff like BET and OWN and everything, which is why we're like really passionate about creating content.
I do like Queen Sugar.
Oh,
but I know that doesn't.
It's very depressing.
Yeah, it is. A little dark.
Yeah.
So, how was your heart impacted by Bill Cosby? speaking of shows that represent, you know, the Black community, and so what is no longer on air? I mean, what are your?
I personally was not personally affected just because, like, working in media, like, I've interviewed so many celebrities and so many people done red carpets. It's like, what y'all see on TV is not who these people are. Like, they're playing a character. They are paid millions of dollars to play, you know, Mr. Huxtable.
Right.
What you do in your personal life, though, I think it should reflect your professional life. I also don't think it's always fair that it does, because people are human. Not his case. I'm not excusing what he did. I think it was disgusting. But, you know, when you're in that public eye, it's like you can do no wrong. I mean, one mistake and your career is ended, whereas maybe people like us who aren't as visible, I mean, you could mess up 10 million times and still walk into work tomorrow morning like, hey, you know, I wasn't surprised. I was just like, dang, that's crazy, because I know a lot of stuff of what goes on behind the scenes in Hollywood. So anything that comes out about anybody nowadays, I'm like, okay, it would never surprise me. There's a lot of stuff that goes on.
I don't think it should have been pulled personally, because I don't agree with, you know, I don't know, a woman who says, you know, right on, Bill, but at the same time, I think that for me, as someone who, I've come from very humble beginnings, and the Cosby Show was, you know, that was the only representation of a whole Black family. I didn't have one in my household, so it was like, okay, you know, that was something positive to aspire to be. So even now, reruns, people still watch Nick at Night and whatever stuff comes on. You know, I still watch some old shows with my son. He's 7. His personal life, yes, but I think that there was still a benefit to our community to have the show aired. Personally,
I agree.
I wasn't surprised. I mean, I feel like people think Heathcliff Huxtable got locked up.
Exactly.
And for me, doing what I do, I see facades every day. So I've seen, you know, presidents of mortgage companies come in as defendants. I've seen, you know, people who you would just not imagine this person behind closed doors. So for me, it wasn't a surprise. It was like, when you look at it, I love the Cosby Show, and I'm trying to think, is it back on? Because I feel like I just watched it last week, like on TV, but I wonder if we were watching it I was just watching the Cosby Show recently. But for me, like, my kids don't have a show like that, you know, to watch. But when I hear people saying, well, how come he's going to jail but Harvey Weinstein didn't? You know, if you did it, you did it. That doesn't excuse that Harvey Weinstein isn't locked up yet, but if you did this, you gotta pay. Like, regardless if you black, white, purple, green, you have to be held accountable for it. So I just think people are saying, there's no way Heathcliff Huxtable could do something like this. Heathcliff didn't. You know, this dude did. So, I mean, it's sad, but...
Yeah, I totally agree. It's a character
that
he played, and the person actually, you know, did some foul things, and you should be held accountable for it. Black people and white people. The people who he affected are real, so you do have to pay the price for it. I don't care that he's 84, that he's going to jail. I do not. Like, all those people who are affected for years, they still have to deal with it, and so you have to face the consequences. And I do feel the other people who are not black, they need to be held accountable as well. But you do not get devalued in your crimes because you are black, and, you know, because of the world that we live in. It's not right, but you still need to be held accountable. And so people, you know, were very upset about that. And I wish that it was still on air, but you see people say crazy things and they get pulled. Roseanne, she said something wrong, her show got pulled. Bill Cosby, whoever, the people who owned the show were ahead of it, they didn't like what happened, it got pulled. That's what happens, like you said, when you make, you know, certain decisions. You don't know. Never think of what can be the consequences, but he didn't care. Like, he's been doing this for 84 years. And as far as I know, I've never met him, but there are at least 5-6 people who've had contact with him that I know, and they never said anything good about him. Like, they were always like, he was nasty, he was evil when they met him. Nobody has ever said anything good about him, and this has been throughout the years. You know, who've interviewed him. I have, like, clients they have family members or in media, they interviewed him like, oh, 5 years ago, he was like horrible to interview. So I'm just like, he's different from the character. That's not him. And if he had to go to jail, he had to go to jail. Bless his little heart.
It also goes into remembering that you are your brand, which is why that Jay-Z lyric, I'm a business. Like, whatever you do, when you get to reach that certain level, and even starting at this level, it's like you have to remember you're always your brand, and there's consequences for that.
So, we only have probably about 10, 15 more minutes. So, for this portion, if we can have everybody just ask their question that they want to Angela try to provide, value for you to help you along your journey, is probably the perfect time for that. So,
Yes, sir.
I will ask, I guess, for me being a very new entrepreneur, one of the things I'm struggling with and would like some insight, how do you juggle, or maybe some effective ways to deal with when you do what you love and you're passionate about, it doesn't always look like work. So people don't necessarily think you're working when you're busy. They're like, I just saw you, that was work. That was work. And it kind of feels like you have all the time in the world, because when you love what you do, it doesn't look like work, but it is work. So how do you, communicate that to your friends, your family, your friends, everyone that, I may look like I'm having the time of my life, but I'm really hard at work right now.
And is the bottom line of this question, people respecting your time? I think that's just it, is being able to be clear with your intentions, be clear with what your goals are, meaning you personally to yourself being clear with that, and then setting boundaries. I remember in those early years, there were phone calls all throughout the day, because I realized that I'd made myself accessible to friends and family no matter what. And I know now people have been conditioned that you either have to get me on the way to the office or on the way home. And people have been conditioned that texting is probably going to be your best bet for me. So I think we train people on how to treat us and what to expect. And we have to first be clear with that ourselves. And I would say in the first year, I wasn't clear. I was just trying to figure things out for myself. So by year 3, I think it became very clear. And also priorities. So yes, this company has to be a priority. My husband works in the company also. So our complete income is coming from this company. So for that reason, I have to make sure that I am where I need to be with the company. Then I have to make sure that I'm protecting my marriage. So I have to give the time. You only have so much time. So you have to, I see these as slices. So because so much is dependent on the company, I have to have a pretty large slice for the company. Then I have to have a slice for my husband, because I'm trying to keep my husband. April will be 25 years we've been married.
Kind of like them.
And so then I have 3 kids, and so I can't just have a slice for kids. I have to have individual slices for them, because they are very different, all 3 of them. And then friends, and I'm an only child, so my girlfriends are very important to me. But I also have a pretty nice slice, I say, I learned in year 10 of the company, maybe 9, for myself. And I used to not have that slice. But now I have incorporated that in my life, and that is a priority that I believe I've earned through time. And a slice for faith, because that's what has sustained me all this time. So I think once I became clear, and I could say that to people, that okay, I have about this much time in my day, and here's the time, and it doesn't mean I don't love you and don't care for you, and when you absolutely need me, I'll be there for you, but I have to remember my priorities. And those who understand that, those who respect that, then they deserve to be a part of my life. And those who don't, some haven't made it, and that's okay. That means they weren't meant to be in that circle in my life. So, does that answer the question?
I have a question.
Yes.
So how do you, or let me rephrase, as a woman and as a Black woman, what obstacles have you faced being an entrepreneur, and how have you overcome them?
I will tell you, my story is a little different because of how I started. And the field that I'm in, it's about who has the expertise. And so what I found is knowledge is absolutely power. I do know that I have this preconceived notion I was the only in most circumstances. Growing up, I was the only minority in all my classes. I graduated from Cox High School. So I am used to not having anyone look like me at the table most of the time, and that's been the story even in corporate America. Before starting my company, I led large firms, divisions for large firms, and so I was always the youngest. There were very few women at the table, and there were no black women. And so I'm used to being in those settings. So I don't see that as a negative challenge. I see that I was forced very early in my career, and I would say early like 29, 30, to be able to appreciate diversity and to be able to figure out a way to connect with you even if you don't look like me. And for me, my end has always been knowledge. So I read, I'm an avid reader because I believe through reading, we find out other people's perspective. One of the books that I loved, I read, the name just escaped me, but Rudolph Giuliani. And I love that book. And no, do I agree with his politics? No, but I loved hearing about his story and reading about his story. So I just, so from that, I don't see that I've run into obstacles. But I believe obstacles is in the eye of the beholder. Some people will feel uncomfortable at that table, and I've just been forced to push through. And their issue is their issue, is not my issue. But I do know that it exists. I'm not naive enough to know that it doesn't exist. If there's ever a time, I believe it's when I have attempted to have executives who were men come into this company. It's a special man who can be led by a woman, and a woman who knows her business. See, if you don't know all aspects of your business, then you can't come with authority. But I pretty much know what I expect, and I'm not afraid to ask for what I expect. And I expect you to respect what I expect, or you can't get a check. So I think that has presented some issues. But again, I am who I am. I have sacrificed to be where I am. And I'm not going to bow down to make you feel comfortable. Right. And so, again, I don't see that as an obstacle. I see that as that's a part of being in this game. And if I'm going to be in the game, I got to play the game to win. You have a question, Tasha?
It's a little vague, so I'll see what you say. So I've been in business for 9 years. Didn't get to tell you, like I said, I'm a personal trainer, and I also put on a lot of community projects. Like I've had a 5K race, and within the studio, so I also own a fitness studio, so that is outside of being a personal trainer and doing all the boot camps, which I do online training, personal training. I do in-house personal training, online boot camps, in-person boot camps. I'm also an author, so I'm still doing heavy press in relation to that. And every 3 or 4 months, I have like mini projects that I do as well. And so I've been doing this for about 9 years. In terms of, I'd say, experience and what I'm looking for, I'll see a lot of things, like even on social media or emails I get. I'm on some people find out what you do, and they're always for people like just starting out. Like if you're trying to transition from being full-time to entrepreneur, what you should do, and so, or entrepreneurship training. Like it's always for people just starting out or 1 to 3 years of experience. But I don't see anything for mid-level and what you can do to expand your business. Never come across it. It's always about you just starting out. how to start your business, whether it's in person, locally, or online. And then I see mastermind classes, which I'll see outside of the area. But in there's not a lot. If I want to take my business to the next level or help you to expand where you are, there's just very limited space with it. And I'm talking about expansion in terms of money, in terms of influence, exposure, not just say like, hey, I'm here, but trying to connect with more people outside of this area, and not just even on the East Coast, because I feel like I have a lot to offer to people regardless if they come into the studio or not. And so I'm asking you, Angela, from someone who has been in the game for a long time and they want to take it to the next level, and this just can be general, what tips do you have for me?
Well, one tip, there's a book, Built to Scale, because that sounds like where you are. So great concepts there. One thing that I will tell you that I did probably year 8, which just was a game changer for me, is I built a board of advisors. Different from a board of directors, but a board of advisors. And their whole role was to challenge me. See, as the CEO, it isn't often that others are going to challenge me. So the areas where I knew that I wasn't as strong, I reached out to individuals to be on my board in that particular way. Now, my board of advisors was a paid position. Others, it's not always. And that book teaches you about who to look for in your board of advisors, whether to pay or not pay and all of that. Because of where I was trying to go, and my challenge that I was facing is, how do I diversify? So I wanted to make sure I had people on the board who could help with that challenge. So I would say step number 1 is to get business leaders in the room with you. And for mine, we met monthly, some meet quarterly. And our first meeting was an orientation. The second meeting, I did a Shark Tank. And so I asked them, based on, they had all the information on the history of my business. I asked them to go away and come up with their concept based on their background on where we could actually go for growth, to diversify. And they each came back and they pitched to me based on their experience, based on their relationships, and pretty much gave steps on what we would do for that particular area. So number 1, I would get some people together to even give you some guidance on how to see what you've been looking at all the time, but you're so close to it that you're missing it, probably.
It's very hard to step outside and look at things from a macro level. So, I do continuing education, like I keep up certifications and stuff like that, but that day-to-day thing can really get you out of the goal. I mean, you can have your great little business plan, your 3-year, 5-year, but however, September 14th, something could happen and you're like, whoa, and then you forget so many different things, and again, everything depends on you. You're the decision maker. So I really appreciate that in terms of getting a board of advisors. I know a couple people I want to ask about that.
Yes.
I was gonna say I'm an only child too, so I get it. How do you maintain your sense of individuality? When it's just Angela. For instance, I'm a business owner. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. I'm a wife. I'm about to be a mom, and I'm kind of freaking out because it's how do I maintain everything? Because now I feel like people just see you as a mom first. And it's just wait, I was the person before this, so that kind of freaks me out, especially being a business owner. I had this longevity of doing this thing, and then it's just oh, nobody's worried about that anymore. They're worried about you being a parent and this and that. So how do you, maintain your individuality as a individual, and then how do you balance that being a working mom?
That's a great question. Let me think on that one, Stephanie. Because I think I grew into this. So our first child, we were pregnant year 2 of our marriage. And it was 8 years before we had our second child. So she was an only child for a long time, and that was on purpose. I really had to take a step. I will tell you, when we were dating, I promised him 5 kids. So, I mean, but you got to do what you got to do to lock the deal. You know, so
I didn't make that promise.
I'm like, I said, what, 5? That's what I like, 5. So, but anyway, so, but that first one was interesting. And so I just wanted to make sure that I could give her everything I needed to give her. I was a career mom, and I told him up front, so before even, I knew that career was very important to me. And I'd always, all my life, had so much attention just focused on me because I was the first on both sides. And my mother's side, there are 10 siblings, and I was the only for a long time. So I had so much attention, and still to this day. But you are right, something happened. And she started getting all my attention. So that was an interesting thing. But I will tell you, Stephanie, something happens when you have that baby. And all of a sudden, all I wanted was for everyone to love on her. And I was fed because she was getting so much love and attention. And I still continued with my career, but it's just, I believe God just gives us the capacity for our heart to grow. And I thought it couldn't grow any more than what it is for this one until I had number 2. And I don't have any regrets about waiting. And I was able to still keep my identity, which was so important to me. I was able to keep my identity because I had a tribe that are still with me today, and they kept me real. They kept me grounded. They kept reminding me of what my goals and dreams were. So it's a time, you know, my parents, they're wonderful. There's nothing like those girlfriends who knew me for, you know, who I was on the college campus and who I was before I had responsibilities, and would take me back to those days. And we made sure we still had time for each other. And so I am very grateful that my husband allowed me time away so I could have my girlfriend time, because that's how I still remain, they call me Angie, the Angie from before. And to this day, no matter what's going on in the company, and they'll listen. I mean, but they really want to get to, okay, so what are we going to do? You know, so they'll hear me out, but they keep me so grounded that it's just, it's a check for me, checkpoint, when we go back to homecoming. And when people can say, she's still Angie, you know, I take pride in that. And so I would say, don't be scared. Really, you're going to find out that there's a time and a season for everything. And when that baby comes, I'm just be real, it's going to be the baby season. But that's the magic that you created. So just give it all you got there. That's going to be the best project for a while. And then when the time is right, you let yourself go. And I'm sure you have your circle of women who can keep you grounded, and you're not missing out on anything. When the time is right, you're going to move back in and work the way you have to work on your business. So